Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of That's So Matthew. Today, I am so excited to have a very special guest here with me today. Say hi.
What's up, everybody? Hello. Thanks for having me on here, Matthew. This is a good time. I'm Carter, by the way. Hello.
Oh, hello, Carter. Welcome to the podcast, and you are so welcome to be here. I am so excited because, everyone, as I've kind of branched out from the old nostalgic Disney films, I just felt like today's film was perfect to kind of balance out the nostalgic with the current Disney with Luca.
Luca?
Yes. I believe that this is the most recent Pixar film. Maybe.
I think you're right. I think because Encanto's not a Pixar film, so I think that this would make this the most recent Pixar film until whatever comes out. Lightyear? I think Lightyear's next. So yeah.
Wasn't there a panda movie coming out? Actually, now that I think about it.
You're right. Turning Red is a thing. I keep forgetting about that one.
I don't think it's out about that one too. Oh, it's coming out in 2022. All
right.
But okay, on March 11th. I thought it was already out because I'm just clearly out of the loop. But yeah, Luca is the most recent Pixar film, and I am very excited about it because, as you know, everyone, I am a TikTok stan. I am on TikTok way more than I probably should be. And this movie went viral on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Everyone was talking about it. There was the Silencio Bruno audio that was my entire For You page for 2 straight months.
Same. It was weird to hear it in the movie itself, in all honesty. I'm like, wait, that's the TikTok sound.
Yeah, I was waiting for it to come. I was just when is it gonna come? When is it gonna come? And it happens really early on in the movie. And I thought it was super cute. And the one thing I want to talk about this movie is the fact that this animation style is so adorable. Right? I love their faces. This is such a weird comment because I don't talk about animated movies very much, or I haven't as of right now. So this is one of the very first ones. And I just wanted to say that the faces are so cute.
They're absolutely adorable. I took notes as I watched it this time, and I also was the way their faces are adorable, the way that they make expressions on the faces too. I guess this is a Pixar thing, is that everything's super lifelike and you really get the emotions of these 2D characters, but the way that they animated the faces with all the little expressions and the smaller details, they had markings on their fingers and stuff. It was so good, and so adorable.
Yeah, I also love the smile. Each character has their own smile.
Yeah,
it's so
they
cute.
do, and they're little teeth. The teeth too are very distinct.
Yes, no, when I looking at the poster, you can just tell each one has their own smile. Luca has more of a no teeth smile, but then the other characters have more of a smirk or a really teethy smile. And this is such a weird start to the podcast, everyone. I'm so sorry, but I just had to comment on that because, like I said, I had not seen it before watching it for today's episode, and so I just have all the initial thoughts, truthfully.
Yeah, I had not seen it, I think, since the summer until watching it before this episode too. So there's a lot running through my head too. It's I noticed that so much though, is that I feel the smiles are something that is worthwhile to comment on. Because I don't know if you noticed this, the movie is really short, but the credits are 15 minutes long.
I did notice. Okay,
yeah.
So this is the weird part. I was watching this and I watched it yesterday, and so I'm waiting. I'm there's 30 minutes left. How can there be 30 minutes left of this movie? With the credits, and then there was literally 15 or 16 minutes of just credits, and I did not watch them. I'm sorry. I was I'm done.
That's fair. There's some cute artwork. There is a very irrelevant post-credit scene of Luca, the Sacha Baron Cohen fish, just sitting in the dark, talking about whale carcass. So it's skippable, but it is there, buried at the end.
Oh, I did not even know. So that shows me being such a fake fan.
Oh my god, no, totally good. But it's an under a 90-minute movie too, which is crazy. Subtracting the credits and stuff, that's 25 minutes, which is not there's a novelty to that, to a quick movie.
Yeah, and it was a good quick movie. Sometimes you watch, especially with watching Disney Channel original movies, which I have done for the past 2 years for this podcast. They're short movies, and it's either really good or really bad. And so when I did see how short this movie was, I was like, oh, like, is this gonna like be good? And it was also something that was super weird about this movie is that it was released only on Disney Plus.
It was, yeah. It's like a weird Disney Plus original Pixar movie, which is, I think it was, big part of the pandemic. Although I would have loved, like, I hope that some of those like streaming only movies get a theater re-release at some point, because I would love to watch this on like a movie theater type screen.
Yeah, me too.
But
I was gonna say
weird.
that I wish that it was like not on my like bedroom TV that's like, like small. I wish it was like a huge like movie theater experience.
Yeah. But it is like, it's the Disney Channel or Disney Plus original Pixar movie, which is a really probably the first and last time that will ever happen. But yeah, it was short, but it felt full too. Like it didn't feel like a short movie. Like I felt like I got a full story from it too.
Yeah, I did too. And so like speaking of like a story, so like before we like really dig deep into the plot, I just kind of want to talk about like what it's all about, because looking at the poster, you're probably very confused if you've never seen this movie. Essentially, you have a boy who is like a sea monster, and when he's on land, he turns into a human, and he meets people on this land, I guess you could say, and he kind of gets into some trouble. And they also, I love the message of this movie. It's kind of like being different than like everyone else and like inclusive, like ness.
It
so
definitely had that
hidden metaphor, classic Disney everything. And so I just liked how this movie, like everyone was treating the sea monsters differently, but when they didn't know that they were sea monsters, they were treated just like regular people. So like you could really go any way with this like message like that's hidden in this movie, because on TikTok I have seen literally every single possible theory like imaginable. And I just thought it was super cute. And then I also just want to talk about like the fact that this movie's like animation colors, like versus when they're like under the water where it's like blue and green and purple, versus on the land, which is like very like bright yellow, tan.
Yeah.
Every detail. I'm sorry. Just so good.
That's Pixar for you. It's so good. They don't skimp out on the details at all. I didn't notice any of like I don't know if you know of like the common Pixar Easter eggs of like the pizza truck and the the little Pixar ball and stuff. I didn't see them in either passing, which is interesting. But like aside from that, the details in this movie are so good, and and the colors are so bright. And even like I thought it was really interesting how in like the first scene is like these two guys like fishing on a boat, and it's like really dark out, and then it like cuts to under the water and it's like super bright and blue. And I thought that was a really interesting like parallel. I've been in AP Lit for too long. I look too much at like juxtaposition now. Like I can't stop it. But I thought that was really just like a cool parallel. The sea monsters call the people on the land monsters. And you're definitely right of like this movie has a lot of themes of like inclusion and acceptance and like a lot of those kinds of different ideas, it was really cool to see it.
Yes, definitely. Also, the AP Lit thing is really funny because I'm literally looking to take that class next year because I'm in AP Lang right now, and it's definitely a class.
Yes, it is. I think I follow the same path that you. Then I did AP Lang last year, AP Lit this year. Very different classes, very, very different in regards to like kind of the whole thing. Both are being AP English courses, incredibly different. I like both of them. They have their own merits, but yeah, AP Lit makes me like look real deep into the fiction that I consume.
Okay, well, maybe that just might be the one for me. Maybe the podcast will just get an upgrade after that. So honestly, let's just get into our first character, which is obviously the namesake of this film, Luca. He is played by Jacob Tremblay, I believe, and he was from Wonder, which is obviously like a movie that every time I watch it I cry because I'm just one of those people. He was so like cute in this movie. Like I obviously know he wasn't acting in it, but like the way that like his voice was like I think it fit the character so well.
I completely agree with you. And even like you said, like I think the voice acting, it felt very much like voice acting, like with Luca and a lot of the other characters too, which we can get into. Like it felt they were all really talented voice actors. And I think the animators I feel like I probably at some point knew how a Pixar movie was made. I feel like maybe they do the lines, then the animation. Somewhere in there that happens. But it feels like the animators really helped like bolster those lines and adding like the expressions and the like movements of the characters. But no, Luca's adorable. He's such a sweet kid and like just such a like a kind person. You can tell is just so anxious the entire time, like especially in the beginning. And then I love his little journey, and from start to end, he's just such like a lovely character.
Well, and developed, I think his character is like compared to like some of the other characters. Like we kind of see him like fighting for like he wants to go on land, and his parents are like, no, you can't go on there, it's dangerous, but he does it anyways. And then in the end, like his parents go on land to save him, and you can tell just like how much like the people in his life like care about him. And I just loved like his friendship with Alberto, and it's such okay, so essentially the Little Mermaid, like he is the Little Mermaid, like he wants to go on land.
Yeah.
And then he does, and it's like he wants that like that different life. And I just thought that was like super cute.
Definitely. It's funny you say Little Mermaid because I think he's in like the live action Little Mermaid that's coming out like in next year. So
that's cute.
But it really is. And it really is like a Little Mermaid type story, but less singing. There's some like Italian opera kind of spliced throughout, but not a whole lot of like proper singing. But now he definitely like, I do love that too, that it gives me a vibe of like everybody does really care about like each other in this movie. You see how much the parents care for Luca, even like and it's in their own ways. Like the parents care about Luca differently than Alberto or his grandma, or even Julia's father, Massimo.
Oh, yes,
Like
Massimo.
they all have this like really good, like they all really care for each other, and it like it's so heartfelt.
Yeah, I think that's like the one thing about this movie is that like even though like these characters are getting into a lot of trouble, like they're like doing things that they shouldn't be, and they're kind of like little rebellious, like little children. Like I'm not really sure how old they're supposed to be, like 12, 13.
Yeah, somewhere
14.
in that range.
And so I just thought that it was like super cute, and he's all about like, you know, like that world of possibilities that is up on the land. And I also looked up like some like fun facts about this movie, and his last name, which I'm literally gonna butcher so bad, is like Pajuro, means hermit crab in Italian.
Does it really? I did not know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that just needs to like get the information.
Yeah, same, because I noticed this on this pass and not the first time. One of the families, like one of the sea monster families that we barely see, their last name is Branzino, which is like just the name of a fish, which I think is really funny. And I think that there's a lot of like, I'd be really curious what like Scorfino means too, and like some of the other just like names and references in this movie, right? The cat's named Machiavelli, which I think is like an Italian prominent figure. It goes to show my Italian knowledge and
my lack of Italian knowledge.
Lack of it, indeed.
But I do know what Scorfano means. Thank you to Wikipedia. I'm not okay. Wikipedia is not a trustable, reliable source, but like I'm also pretty sure that it's pretty good. Apparently
it is. It's more trustworthy
fish.
than people may give it credit.
Redfish.
Okay, interesting.
I think that's really like a cute, like, I mean, I think that that's interesting because like he doesn't have red hair, like that's
no
Juliet, but I
yeah,
still think
you're
it's
right.
Cute. So speaking of Alberto, like just in general, I just want to say that he's probably a very close second or almost a tie for my favorite character, just because I love how like their friendship just like blossoms like from absolutely nothing into something that is like adorable and like best friend goals, because you know like that cringy stuff. But he's all
no, it is like, their friend goals for sure.
Fun. No, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. Like it's all about like having fun, and like they're like doing what they want, like they're having fun. It was cute.
It's adorable. Yeah, the early montage scenes that they do with those two, like with Luca and Alberto really early, are just like, I think this whole movie I feel like is just very like lovely. Like I just think it's such a like just like heartfelt fun kind of movie. But those like the early montage scenes where he's like, oh, I have to go, and then it goes 1 hour later, he's like, I really have to go home, and then it's 45 minutes later, I thought was hilarious. And then even when Alberto's like, here's how gravity works and like how to walk, like immediately they have a really quick like chemistry and bond that comes up. And then it's just so fun to watch it over the movie as it kind of grows and changes and all that.
Definitely. I think one of my favorite parts about like the like that scene that you're talking about, like where he's like, oh, I gotta go, but then he doesn't go, is that it's like something that I would do. Like I would like be sometimes like on a podcast, be like, oh, we should get this ending. And then like here we are, like keep talking, because it just was so cute. And it just like showed that their friendship was like really something real, you know?
Yeah. It really did. I definitely, I think, have a very relatable experience. Like, I'm going to leave, and then 45 minutes go by, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I did say that a second ago. Like, it's like the whole movie, I think, does feel relatable. Even if it is sea monsters, I think there's a lot of like degrees of, especially like being a kid and wanting to go explore. And like, even I feel like I don't think either of us are parents, but from a parent lens, like I feel like a parent like worrying about like their kid, like kind of exploring out, like getting out for the first time is probably very relatable too in that sense. And just kind of all around, like they're such great characters of just like the obnoxious bully character, I feel like, and is very relatable too, even if it's like to the nth degree with whatever the kid's name is, catfish guy.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember, to be honest.
No, I don't know if it's in my notes. I tried to make all my notes so I remember all the names of these people, but yeah, no, I love Alberto as well. I think his voice acting and like movements as well is really, really good too.
Yeah, I remember Jack Dylan Grazer. He would like went TikTok famous as well, like during this whole thing. And I thought that was like, yeah, like for some reason, my friend, shout out to Ashley, she's been on the podcast a couple times. She kept texting me. She's like, this guy is so hot. And so he like went TikTok famous, and like she would always like send me his TikToks, and I'm like, who is this dude? So I looked him up, and he was in Luca. So I think it just like ties this whole like TikTok fame thing together.
Yeah, I knew him much more as I think he's a kid in Shazam who doesn't become Shazam. I don't know if you're at all like a Shazam. Like, I'm not even much of a DC movie fan, but I watched Shazam.
I did see Shazam like a couple of years ago, and now that you're saying, I can actually picture him.
Yeah, he's a kid with the crutches. I did not make that connection until looking him up as well. But
yeah. I also just looked up Shazam, and I just realized that they're like making like several sequels to this movie, which is kind of iconic. Because now I want to go see it.
There's many in the pipeline.
No, I am a huge like Marvel and DC person, and so like every time that there's a new movie, I always think that it's like super cool. And the DC ones, like hot take, sometimes like they are really good, like better than Marvel.
Shazam slapped for sure. I have not gotten too far into the DC films yet. I'm going through the Spider-Man back catalog because I never saw the Andrew Garfield movies, and then I think my goal after that is to go through the like modern-ish DC movies. I'm excited for The Flash. I'm really hyped for The Flash. And I feel like the Batman might be a really good one too.
No, one of my favorite ones, DC is oh god, what's it called? Oh, Suicide Squad.
The new one or the 2016 one?
The 2016 one.
Really? Okay.
I've never seen the 2021 yet.
No, me neither.
So I will eventually get to it, but I actually enjoyed the 2016 one. And so definitely when you watch it, you should let me know what you think, because I hear it gets a lot of hate. And you know what? I mean, half of the stuff I talk about on this podcast gets a lot of hate.
But hey, if you love it, you love it.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Jack Dylan Grazer as Alberto, great character. Now this other character, Julia, I feel like we did not get enough of like her in this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with that. She has an arc, but it's not like she doesn't have an arc in the way that Luca and Alberto do. Because she starts with like, I'm gonna win the race, and then she makes a sacrifice play to take down Catfish Boy. But like otherwise, yeah, I would love to see. I go back and forth a lot on whether I want a sequel, whether I want like Tuca or whatever. But like,
I like that.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that she could definitely get more development. Like, I think it'd be interesting if they did maybe one of Luca and Julia like as where they are at the end of the movie. But I don't know.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you on that. Like sometimes with a Disney movie where you get like some of a character, but you want more, it's almost like, do I want a sequel or a prequel, or do I just want them to leave what we've got? And I feel like this movie, from what I saw, like while watching it, like obviously I'll have to go revisit it at some point. I feel like this movie could either make for a very, very good sequel or one that just is not very good, because I feel like it was so good that it's almost like, please just leave it alone.
That's my thing too, is I'm like, almost like, honestly, this is such a like good complete story. Like I don't want a full movie sequel. They did, I think, put out a short. I know that they did because I watched it, of like of a semi sequel of Alberto and Massimo just like living together and like getting along, which is really sweet. And that's really heartfelt too. And it even touches more on like Alberto and his arc from this movie and some of his like semi-revealed past, but still some of the mystery there. But maybe in that capacity, like I would probably watch like 7 like 8-minute shorts that would be the sequel to this movie more than I would want to watch another 90-minute feature length Tuca or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of like thinking, that I think it would definitely be a cute thing, but I don't think that it could be like a whole like new entire movie. Sometimes I think like maybe like those like shorts would be like sufficient enough.
Yeah, because like I don't know what your take on Cars 2 is, but like I know the general consensus is like Cars, like I don't necessarily know if I want this like Cars 2, where like people liked Mater from the first one and then they did everything about Mater and then it was like well, like, you know. But I definitely think Luca.
That's so funny that you bring it up, because you know what? I am one of the minority people that actually thinks Cars 2 is good.
Okay.
I don't like Cars 3. I don't like Cars 3 though. Cars 3 is not good. That's my take.
I need to revisit the Cars franchise because I remember, I mean, the first one nostalgically, maybe that's a word, I loved it. The second one, I watched it once in like pieces and I was like, huh. And I was, 8 or 9. So like I couldn't comprehend like, what would I give this score on Rotten Tomatoes? Like I just didn't even think about it. And I think similarly for the third one, I was like, I had fun. I have not revisited it in probably half a decade.
No, I have not watched Cars 3 since it came out because the first time was atrocious enough. But I actually do really like Cars 2. So at some point I will definitely be talking about it on the podcast, because I just need to like get into it and defend myself like before all like the listeners are just like, why do you like this movie? I just need to like defend my stance.
Have it ready. I think so. I will look forward to hearing that defense. And
me too. I am very excited. But back on topic, because you know what? I get off on topic all the time.
Same.
So Julia, I really, really like the way that she like is like teaching like Alberto and Luca, like in a weird way. Like she's kind of like a role model for them, because they're kind of like in their own little world. Like
some might say a bubble.
That was good. That was good. No, indeed, I just loved, right. I liked how like she just kind of like took them under her wing to work with them and kind of just like was a good friend for them, because they were kind of having a hard time on Earth.
Yeah. She definitely helped them a lot. Like if they hadn't had Julia there, like those two would not have done anywhere near as well as they did. And she definitely like, she gave them, all the things of homeostasis, food, shelter, all that stuff. Yeah, she taught him how to like Luca's like a proper cyclist by the end of this movie, like, which I think is wild, is like how well that he bikes up and down that little Mount Vesuvius is a volcano, isn't it? Mount Porto Rosso. Like, which I think is really cool. And yeah, I think she definitely helps them. Like, I think they needed somebody else there to kind of help their relationship like actually grow and have like good development and stuff. She was definitely much needed.
Yes, I agree. Okay. My screen just like went black for a second, but I think we're here. We're still here. Okay. Cool. Hello. Hello. So I agree with everything that you said about Julia, but now we cannot forget the bully, who is basically like I believe he's an adult.
I think he has to be 18 at this point.
Yeah,
because he's like, I'm 16, and she said you said that last year, and I think he lied about his age that year too. So
yeah, I was gonna say he definitely was a little bit of a liar, like with his pants on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has won the cup race like several times, and they're like, you're just too old for it. But he has like these two gang members with him that are always like trying to like get at these kids. And I just want to say, if you're like 18, 19, why are you messing with a bunch of 12, 13, and 14-year-olds?
I don't get it. No, it's insane.
It's like obnoxious.
It'd be like, yeah, it'd be like me as a senior in high school being like, you know how I'm gonna bully the 8th graders? Like, why? It's so like, and I get that that's probably the whole thing about the character is that he's like, he just kicks down so much, and he basically goes to like the one place where he's like, everyone can fear me because they're all like juvenile, right? Because they're all like actual proper children. Whereas like if this kid, like, I don't know, maybe he's bullied in high school. I wouldn't be surprised. But like, so maybe that there's some degree of like hurt people, but he's just so awful to these little kids.
It's like, so funny too. Like it's funny, awful. It's like what in your life, who hurt you so bad that you need to like hurt these children? He could use I think that definitely he needs to like really go back through his past and do some digging and some soul searching, and hopefully he comes out okay at the end, like maybe down the line. But yeah, who did this to you that you like, you're so mean to these kids, like 12-year-olds, and like what, throwing them in fountains, and just like, also who gave him a harpoon? Why did he have a spear? Like, I get that it's like a fish hunting town, but like, I feel like I would do everything in my power if I lived in Puerto Rosso to keep a spear away from this kid. I definitely agree, because he's like, yeah, a scary guy. So I think that they should have not allowed him to get any weapons.
No. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, it seems like he's thankfully for the whole plot, he's a terrible shot when he actually tries to throw it. Like, I think he misses abysmally, but still, that's a sharp object. Like, they just have those in the walls in town. Like, you need to put these under locks and keys.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
this
wild.
Guy was definitely really cute. Villain, but I don't want to see any more of him. So
no, he will not be in Tuca. He like, unless the sequel is him like coming to grips and learning to be a good person, don't want it.
Or he gets locked up.
Yeah. I mean, he did get, like, in the end, his lackeys turned on him. They threw him in a fountain, and they threw his wool scarf in the fountain as well. So good on that. But yeah.
But honestly, the last character who I like really want to talk in depth about is Maya Rudolph's character. One, because Maya Rudolph is an icon, and we cannot just like skip over her. So she is a sea monster, and so she's the daughter and Luca's mother. And so basically the entire time she's like, you should not go up on the land. It's dangerous. You're going to get hurt. And then what does she do in the end? She ends up going on the land.
Indeed, she does. And she like, thank you, Alexa. Indeed, she does go on the land. And I think she learns in the end too, thankfully, like the lesson of like, maybe it's not so bad, but still it's really, it's a great character. She was, I think, the one initially when we talked about faces that I really noticed, like the way that they made the face so expressive and so cool. And so like I noticed the uniqueness on her initially, and then I really saw it in everybody else. But yeah, she was great. Her whale calls really good. She's really trying. But yeah, it was definitely a really great character, and it was kind of fun. It was interesting how many plot threads they had going on throughout this movie, which I feel like I just really noticed with like, I always forget that the parents try to hunt the kids down as well. And honestly, I kind of forget that there's a villain too. Like, there is so many things happening in like the span of 3 days with these kids, but I think it's a really good story, and like it ends up with a really good lesson. And I think it's like, she learns a lesson with everybody else, and she lets Luca go to school, and like you can just see how much she cares for him the whole time, which is really sweet. Like, she's not trying to just be like a controlling mother. She's really like genuinely worried for her son's fate, like kind of very Marlin from Finding Nemo.
I was gonna
say I got a lot of vibes from.
I love Finding Nemo, so anytime I had the opportunity to talk about it, we're gonna talk about it. Now, I was gonna say, like, it's the same thing where like she knows that it's dangerous, but she's willing to put herself in the way of danger to like save her kid and like keep him safe. Which goal mother vibes, honestly. Go her.
Goal.
But I love, like you said, the animation style, like especially like in her human form. I thought was like super like different and expressive than like from the other characters. That it just made me like fall in love with that. Even like her like sea monster, like her hair and like her ears.
Yeah.
It was just like iconic.
Iconic indeed. Yeah, it was incredible through and through. She also kind of sort of bullies kids, but in a much nicer way and in much more of a like somebody has a squirt gun in your neighborhood and you know that they're going to fire it at any person kind of mentality, which isn't as bad as a scary man with a Vespa has a spear kind of bullying. Like there's two different hierarchies there, but I think that was even really good like comic relief throughout this too. It's like it was funny when they'd ever just cut to the parents and they're like, we can find our kid, and then they go to the town square and they're like, oh no, like I don't know if we can recognize our kid, which in fairness, they'd never seen him as a human. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like these parents are like looking for him in human form, but they've never like seen his human form. So like, how are they supposed to find him?
Yeah, I think they find him by voice, something like that.
Yeah, but I was like, when they first like went on land, I was like, what do these like parents think they're doing? Like they're gonna have a really hard time. And I mean, they definitely did. It was not easy.
No. Yeah, it was really, really interesting I was definitely wondering if they would even get more of a harder time than like they did. Cause like they like straight up within 3 minutes of like getting on this pier, like the dad pushes like a child into the water and then they like run away. So I was really worried. I'm like, are they gonna like wind up getting in trouble? Because like there was always like a cop just kind of walking around that never really did much until like I think it was in the end, it was like they were worried about the sea monsters and then the sea monsters weren't a problem, but like they could have gotten arrested for just
like the scene harassment. We'll talk about in just like a hot second when we get to the plot where it's like raining and then they like turn into the sea monsters is so funny to me because I was like, it's raining, they're gonna turn into sea monsters, and then 2 seconds later, sea monster.
They do it.
Yeah,
they do.
So
indeed.
Plot, let's get into it. So obviously we've kind of already talked about it a little bit, but like, so we have like Luca who has been told to not go onto the surface and on the land because he's going to get hurt. So he does it anyways. And Alberto like shows him like, oh, you turn into humans when you're dry, but when you go back in the water, you'll turn back into a sea monster. So they go to this cute little hideout where they like have this really cute scene with where like Luca's like touching everything. And then like we kind of already talked about, it's like, oh, I'm leaving. And then it was like 30 minutes later, oh, I'm leaving, I better get going. And then an hour later. So they were like really bonding. And I thought it was super cute because obviously they like just met kind of. And then they like became besties. And I thought it was super cute.
Yeah. Instant besties, which is wonderful. It was so cute to watch. And then they immediately fall in love with a Vespa, like of all things. I kind of just like this movie, I felt it was high stakes, I think, because of the sea monster kind of threat. And like if they got found out, at least for the longest time, it was like if they got found out, people could, really like kill them, which is high stakes. But the biggest part of this movie was them just trying to get a Vespa, which is so low stakes, and I love it so much. And like love that dream for them. It was wonderful.
They knew what they wanted and they knew how to get it. And no, I was like kind of like thinking, I was like, what is going to be the motivation behind this movie? And I definitely was not thinking of Vespa at all.
No, not at all.
But
it fits.
No, it does. I think, and it's also like super cute, like in the promotional pictures and like trailer. Like I feel like we saw a lot of the Vespa. So like I feel like I should have figured out that it was going to be a Vespa, but like it just worked so well. And then we also have the parents who are like need to like go like find him, and they like, oh wait, where did he go? He must be on the land. And like the classic like Disney worried parent vibe. And so they try to find a real Vespa and travel the world, and they run away together. Also bestie goals, like
also bestie goals. Yeah, would love to run away on a Vespa with somebody. Like,
why not?
Sounds like a fun time. Why not? Or like go to fancy astronomy school. Either way. both bestie goals.
Either way, but we can't forget the guy, the bully, who literally tries to like come at them. And so he like tries to like put Luca in the fountain because obviously he's like a jerk messing with 12 and 13-year-olds because why not?
Why not?
And Julia comes out and she helps them escape. So they need to like win the money for this Vespa. And so Julia helps them like make a team, and it's like super cute. Now we have a third bestie added to this group that are like invested in this Vespa.
Yeah. They're wonderful together. Like I think they all play off each other really well. And it's this wonderful bestie trio. I was gonna say it's like anytime there's a bestie trio, I'm like, oh, it's Harry, Ron, and Hermione. I'm like, no, it's not. Like those are just three best friends from one book series. But
I mean, it works. Like it
actually does kind of work.
No, I definitely
it does work more than I initially thought. But
no, definitely here for it because it is so like cute. Like you just have to appreciate it. Like they're just really cute. But obviously this triathlon, there's swimming, pasta eating, and biking. I wrote those 3 down. But how are they supposed to swim if they're sea monsters and they're going to get revealed?
It doesn't work.
Oh no. What is going to happen?
Oh no.
So they kind of have decided to split it up, which I'm not really sure how that works in a triathlon, but they're going to do it. So they take on the biking and the pasta eating, and Julia will do the swimming. And so then obviously the bully is like, I'm going to win. Go away. You're done.
Yeah, please put the spear down. Please just walk away. You have a Vespa. You can go and travel the world like what these kids want to do. Like, just live your Vespa dream.
It was so funny. Like he was so like invested in winning it again. Like I feel like that like gives like very toxic like high schooler vibes. Like I need always like need to win. We've all got those kids at our school. We definitely all do. So we can't forget the fisherman father, Massimo, who only has one arm. Mm-hmm. They become friends with him. And so
they do.
Luca's parents finally have decided that they're going to take that risk to find their son and go to the surface. And it's kind of funny to me because they're like saying how scary it is and then they do it anyways.
Yeah, definitely. They're very much like, you can't do this, Luca, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I guess we're going to have to like go up and do it ourselves. And it seems like the grandma was like real chill the whole time. I loved her character too, of just like not saying anything. And like she could tell that she would like was kind of, I feel like that like grandparent vibe of just like it's probably not great that grandparents try to undermine like their parents' authority, but she was definitely the person who's like knew that like it was probably good for Luca to go and like at least experience and explore that and kind of just let him get away with it. And then like at the end she just is like hanging out in the town and like goes there every weekend, which I think is very funny.
No, I feel like this whole movie is literally just people like following their dreams and like doing whatever they want, essentially. Like even the parents, like the grandma, like going back on land, like she's doing what she wants. Like she's living her dream. The kids have their Vespa dream. She's living her own dream.
Yeah, she's living her best life. She's beating everybody at cards and like hanging out. And it even there's other sea monsters in the town that like you don't realize at the beginning that they were sea monsters, and then at the end they like reveal themselves, and it's really cute too. And then so it's like everyone's just kind of living their best life here. If they want to stay under the surface, they do that. If they want to stay in town, they do that.
No, I feel like that's what I was like thinking about this whole time until like the very end. I was like, what if these other humans are sea monsters? And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, you're not alone. There's more.
There's more. But wait, there's more. You call right now. Yeah, I definitely had that kind of vibe, and it was cool.
So Julia starts talking like to Luca about school and learning and astronomy, which we obviously talked about because astronomy is just obviously a huge part of this movie. Like that's mentioned like a couple times.
All the fish in the sky. Yeah.
And so he becomes like, or I should say Alberto, like kind of becomes a little like jealous and feels like left out, which is like, obviously this is the one thing I have to say about like friendship trios. Like you're always gonna have like the one person that like gets left out. So I feel like it was kind of like gonna come eventually, and they needed some conflict because they can't just get this Vespa right away. They gotta slow down.
Yeah, they can't be besties the whole time. They have to fight and make everybody cry, and then can become besties again, and then make everybody cry again.
Oh, of course.
That's
it's a Disney movie. Formula. There has to be some conflict. And then so they also kind of have this thing where Luca like no longer follows like Alberto's advice, and he like just kind of wants to like stop listening to him and like cut him off for like absolutely no reason. Like it was like such an unnecessary like, oh, I hate you now, and then 2 seconds later we all know that they're gonna end up making up, and then they're gonna get that Vespa.
It was a quick turn for sure. I think it definitely. I've heard this too from other people who talk about this movie. If there's one thing that feels like a little bit out of place, it's just that like real quick, like it seems like everything's fine, and then it's like very quickly, and probably it's just because like it is only an hour and 25-minute movie. So like I think we're missing like a couple scenes probably in the middle to like set that up more, but it was a very quick turn for sure.
Oh yeah, it was just a very quick like out of like field like left turn. But we got right back on track because it kind of becomes a interesting thing because Alberto like becomes to like, we did not really know that he was like a water sea monster, and then all of a sudden he is. And you know what? I was kind of shocked. Yeah. I was shocked, honey. I was shocked.
Yep. He does. He reveals himself to everybody. And then like even I saw somebody dissect the way that this movie was like shot, like not shot because it's not actual cameras, but like the way that they did those scenes. But they make Alberto look all scary as a monster, and then you kind of expect like Luca to either like address it or follow suit, and then he kind of acts like he doesn't know that Alberto's a sea monster, and then it's like heartbreaking.
Well, because then it just gets even crazier because Julia puts like a cup of water onto Luca, and then she's like, "You're a sea monster too?"
In my head, the first time I watched that, Julia did that intentionally. Like Julia knew at that point that Luca was also a sea monster. When I watched it this time, I'm like, oh, she actually does look really surprised. But like, I think either way you can interpret that. But yeah, no. And then Julia's like, "You're a sea," and then she's like, "You have to leave," and he's like, "No, I'm gonna get a Vespa." Like,
literally,
because that is the crux of this movie.
So then Luca and Alberto kind of like try to become besties again. But then we kind of learned this backstory about Alberto's father, and he like left him a long time ago, and it kind of like was like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have friends, which I was like, what does having friends have to do with your father that left you?
Yeah, it's tough. I definitely think that it probably like, I think that in watching it from this time, from the first to the end, like to begin to the end, knowing kind of what happened with Alberto's father, like you see just how insecure Alberto is the whole time, and how much he's trying to like overcompensate for things too. But it was like, that was a tough scene. Like that was a sad scene to watch, where he's like, yeah, I stopped counting. My dad said I could just be on my own. And like, essentially like, you know, my dad didn't need me and you don't need me either. And I'm like, oh no, like you're still only like 13, which is really sad.
And so he goes and does this, and he gets going, and he like takes the lead in this bicycle race. And so he's like all of a sudden like a pro, but there has to be some more conflict, right? Obviously. So what can they do to like spice up this movie? Rain.
Disney makes it rain, baby.
They're like, Rain, you're going to be a sea monster now. And guess what? He turns into a sea monster. And so Alberto arrives, and then the bully comes back. And the reason I keep calling him the bully is because I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's like Urkel.
Yeah, miércoles? No, that's Wednesday in Spanish.
We're just gonna call him the bully, honestly.
Yeah, miércoles, something like that.
Miércoles. You know what? That sounds like halfway right.
Like the rest of the kids cast are played by kids. This man's played by an adult. And if I'm looking at the first image of this actor, I would also not give this actor a spear either. Just kind of by the looks. Oh no.
Oh no.
Kind of just by the looks of things, I'd be like,
oh,
I don't think that I hand that man a spear as much as
I don't think anyone that this man has anything to do with will not be getting a spear. So then Alberto turns into a sea monster as well, and then the bully is like, I'm gonna kill you. And then
straight up murder.
Julia like comes back, and then she injures herself, but then the besties like reunite, and then they stand up to him, and then Massimo comes back for like a hot second. He's kind of been like hiding in the shadows, and he like reveals that he's friends with the boys and that they have crossed the line and won the race. And it's like, oh my gosh, you've won the race. You've got a Vespa. You get a Vespa. You get a Vespa. Like everyone gets a Vespa. Yep. But the best part is when everyone reveals themselves to be a sea monster. Not everyone, but other people. And so Luca's family's there, and then everyone's like, yay, sea monsters. As if they didn't hate on them earlier in the movie.
Yeah, it was a 180 for sure, but like that's what exposing people to different cultures does. Like I guess it's kind of the theme is like the fact that like especially with like Massimo, who seemed like he was the biggest like I'm gonna murder sea monsters kind of dude. The moment he actually met them, like he cared for them and was like, oh, they're just people too, or creatures, living things, conscious living things. And then yeah, it's so sweet. He cared so much for those kids. Like when Alberto like leaves like and swims away after he gets revealed, and then they tell Massimo and they're like, yeah, he probably doesn't want anybody looking for him, and Massimo goes and looks anyways. I did not pick that up the first time around, and I'm like, that is such a like kind of like really heartfelt detail that like Massimo cares so much about these kids.
No, he literally does, which is kind of like weird because if you like look at his character and like what he does in the movie, he doesn't really show that he cares.
No, not at all. And like they keep that up a lot for the short they do with Alberto and Massimo as well, where like he barely talks until the end, but you can tell like he reminds me of there's that guy in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but like so much better than that guy in Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs who like has a really thick eyebrows and the mustache and like is not that expressive, but still has just this like deep level of affection.
No, for sure. I think that it was just super like adorable, and you know what? I will be talking about it for years to come because you can't not. But I think my favorite part is when the henchmen, I guess you could call them, of this dude, the bully, throw him into the fountain. And yeah. But
indeed,
we're not over just yet because you still have to resolve the whole Vespa thing going on. So Luca and Alberto do get a Vespa, but then he sells it to get a ticket so that he can go to school with Julia, which is like kind of cute. It was like
that ending was that was like the gut wrencher of like it's so sweet because like they're at the train station and you can tell that Alberto has talked to everyone about this except for Luca, and like Luca's parents show up and he gives Luca the train ticket and like I paid for your school for like the year or whatever, and then it's like and then you're like, oh, all three besties are gonna get to go to school together. And then Alberto's like, nah, I'm gonna stay. And he plays it up like I'm gonna stay for Massimo, but you know that like he is staying because he finally has a father figure. And
that's what I was thinking. It's very clearly like the father figure that is like keeping him there.
Indeed, because he finally has like somebody who cares for him. And then they hug, and then what like Alberto says like some kind of Italian phrase, and Luca's like, what does it mean? And he's like, I don't know, go find out for me. And I'm like, oh wow, like this is emotional. Like it was a good ending. And then they're in the rain on the train and Luca's looking out and they're like running after, like Alberto's running with the train. Pixar. That's like top tier, like Pixar just punches you in the gut.
I have to agree. It is definitely like a classic, like Pixar like vibe, but I really enjoyed it. And I just want to say that this is like one of the first movies that I've watched from Disney in a while that I really loved. To be fair, I have not seen Encanto. I have not seen like I'm very behind, essentially, is what I'm saying. So I really enjoyed this movie, surprisingly, because Pixar, and it was a Disney Plus original, and it didn't get that theatrical like release, like. And I mean, obviously that could have been because of the pandemic, or maybe they're like, oh, maybe this won't do good, whatever it could have been. But I really enjoyed it. And I think that this was a great, like one of my first like new episodes of the podcast because it was cute. And obviously we had the whole like Silencio Bruno TikTok thing.
Yes.
You can never forget that. Like when it came on during the movie, I was like, you've got to be kidding. Like I knew it was coming, but like the amount of times that it was said, like I didn't know how like actually prominent it was in this movie.
Yeah. And like I was waiting for the song to drop too. Like just so like even when I watched the movie the first time, because I'd seen all the TikToks and I was like, okay, like I'll go check this out. Because I've seen I think every Pixar movie except for A Bug's Life for whatever reason. But like I went to check it out and like I kind of waited for the song to drop. It didn't. I think that just had like a really good piece of movie score, but it's such like the Silencio Bruno idea too is such a good message of just like kind of telling that like irrationally apprehensive voice to just like shut up in your head and just go do it, just live life and get your Vespas and do all that stuff.
Definitely. Now this is my favorite part of every single podcast episode. We have to rate this movie out of 10.
Okay,
so I will go first and then you can go. So honestly, I was a little like, after I finished, I was kind of in conflict because I wanted to be like, I definitely wanted to give this movie like the 10 out of 10, but I think I'm going to have to go with like a 9 out of 10.
I think that I'll follow you. I'll say 9 out of 10 Vespas. I think that it's like, I really, really love it. I think there's a little bit of that like Luca Alberto turn is quick, but like, I think it does work in the movie. I do like, I'm just somebody who in general is like apprehensive to give things like that proper 10 out of 10. I've become my like high school science teachers who are like, you will never get 100% on a rubric, like until like
those
where
teachers.
Like there will always be one thing off, and I'm always like, hey, yeah, I guess I get it, but I'm like, I still really love it. I think it's such a like cute and just kind of like easy, fun movie, and I think that like I'm really happy. I think that's been a turn I've seen recently in just like content that's being made. Honestly, even in part of the pandemic and like a little bit, it just in part of like having so much like actual just kind of heavy stressful things going on that like there's been more light movies about like Vespas, or I don't know if you or anyone has seen the show Ted Lasso, but it's very similar of just like it's a nice show where there's still conflict, but the characters at their core aren't like mean to each, like they're all like they care for each other in their own different ways, and they show like I liked how like even like everything was like, I get that it's kids, like everything was like platonic too, like there wasn't like any like obnoxious or sudden like romance line, and you could read into any of the relationships how you would like, but I like that piece of it too, of just like being in like showing the importance of platonic friendship, which is always kind of nice to see in media. Like I know Pixar's done a good job at this, but even still, and I just it's such a like a cute, it's 85 minutes, and it's just such a joyful 85 minutes.
Yeah, the music also is like super like cool, like the Italian opera. Like I'm not gonna lie, sometimes like that stuff like kind of just isn't my thing, but I thought it was like super cute. Like, and the score was also like really good, very like Disney, very Pixar. So like everything in this movie was good. And so I feel like if you listen to this entire episode without watching the movie, one, what are you doing? Because we just spoiled the entire thing for you.
Yeah,
but
please go watch it.
Why haven't you watched it yet?
Yeah, go watch it. It's lovely. It's just, I'm trying to think, is there one thing we haven't spoiled? We haven't spoiled the color of any of the Vespas. Go watch it so that you can know the color of the Vespas that these kids want to know.
You must know the color of the Vespa.
There's details in there that we haven't talked about yet. Go see what's up with the turtle that's been reoccurring throughout the movie too. We didn't talk about the turtle, but like there's still details. It's not all spoiled for you yet. So don't be like, I already know.
Don't be like me and not watch it and then like watch it and regret that I didn't watch it sooner. because that's how I feel right now. I'm like, why didn't I not watch this like 6 months ago?
Yeah, finish this episode though. Like, don't leave us just yet. Then go watch it, and then come back and listen to it again so that our conversation can make sense. All right?
Yeah.
Capiche?
Capiche. Yeah. I agree with you on that one. So where can my listeners check out all of your like content and your podcasts and your Instagram, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do most prominently a podcast called Positivitea. It's spelled it's that T is TEA at the end. It's all about like similar to Luca vibes. It's like a very kind of good news, just like a birth in the 2020 pandemic where there was not a lot of good news. It's just like talking about good news, some of the fun news stories that like make myself and my other co-host smile. If you've listened back through this catalog, you know that Saisha Gupta, who was on your Camp Rock 2 episode, if I'm not mistaken, she's one of the co-hosts on that show, as well as a couple other really cool people. But it's a wonderful show. It's just me talking about good news. My social media is, I think, Carter D. Lucas on Instagram, something like that. It's a picture of my face. I think I probably, if I'm followed by Positivity Podcast, that's really the place you want to find me. Hear more of my my voices, my ramblings, talk a lot about not only good news, a lot about Jeopardy, like the game show. We all kind of collectively stand Alex Trebek and Betty White, rest in peace. Just want to say that.
Sad face.
But it's very sad face. She's such an icon too. But yeah, that's kind of the most of the places you can find me. But this was wonderful, Matthew. Thanks for having me on here. Thanks for talking Luca. This was a fun movie, and I'm glad to rewatch it and revisit it. And I think I will continue to revisit it too. So
yes, thank you so much for joining me. We kind of had months ago been like, you should definitely come on the podcast.
Yes.
And obviously, you know what, stuff happens, and you know what, we finally got around to it. And it's a new year, 2022, the first episode I recorded in the new year. So I think that this is definitely a great one, and obviously an amazing movie to make just things even better.
Yeah. So many good things.
As you all know, I will link Positivity in the show notes below.
Thank you, Matthew.
Technically below. I'm not really sure. Depending on where you listen, they could be above or to the side. I don't know. But it'll be linked in the show notes for sure. And make sure to support Positivity and all of the amazing people that are part of that. Also, like you said, Saisha has been on the podcast before. The Camp Rock 2 episode, definitely go check it out because that's an amazing episode. That was like forever ago, but it's still a good one. So definitely check it out.
Yeah.
But you can follow me on Instagram at That's Matthew, TikTok at That's So Matthew, Twitter at That's So Matthew, pretty much any place at That's So Matthew. Just search up at That's So Matthew, all one word. And you can also check out my website, that'smatthew.com, for all the fun stuff as I continue to update that with some new and fun stuff. But thank you so much for listening. I'll see you all in another episode again soon. Bye.